True. That is a very sexy picture of Logan. I had to wait a little bit because you've got a delay on your stream, but look at that. Fucking hell. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. I need to point something out here. Okay. Rob, where's the big great unclean wall behind you? Is it not real?
There's none. No, he's not real.
Oh no.
He's not real. This has
A
been
lie. It's a lie.
forgery. This has been a forgery for years. I could put anything behind here. It could be anything. It's nothing but lies.
Okay, right.
Nothing but lies on the Honest Wargamer.
Okay, so
that's what it is.
Apparently these dudes can only hear me, so I'll just ramble for a bit while Scriver attempts to fix the problem. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, Tom, why don't you just say hello to everyone and tell us what you've been up to this week?
Yeah, sure. I'll say hello. Well, my Gretchen is actually not falling over. Hey, I have done no 40k, not out of an inability to do so, but because I did not want to. And I was.
Oh, you did not want to play 40k this week?
I did not want to play 40k this week. So
you played a lot though recently, right?
I've been in Bath. Apparently the stream is now dead again. But no, it's not. It's not. I can see it going. I don't know what chat's talking about. I was down in Bath over the weekend, so I didn't have any time
listening to the chat.
Well,
let John do it. He got it. He's got it. Because I never trust him because they're liars. They're liars. One of them told him I was still live with the BBC earlier. I panicked. I looked at my phone and I was like, no. You were in Bath? What you did in Bath?
I was just in Bath seeing my uni mates for. Okay. Right. Well, I was just in Bath seeing my uni mates because we haven't really done that. We normally do like an annual Christmas party, except safely and legally. So that was fun. It was only like 6 of us, so it was pretty nice. But yeah, just been down doing that. Haven't really done any 40k. I have got all my Orcs boxed up though, so I was just putting all my Gretchen back into a lovely big box on the top, and I have been trying to follow a lot of the events that were going on this weekend, which I'm sure we can talk about later.
Wait, you've unboxed them?
Boxed them? What do you mean? So I used to have all my Orcs just kind of on a shelf. Let me just show you the shelf actually. This shelf over here. I used to have lots of Orcs just kind of piled up. So now I've just moved them all into my really useful boxes, which are now stacked on top of my what are these called? The cabinets. Yeah. So organized. We're not precariously at all, mate. That's perfect. So yeah, just need to get that sorted properly, and once we've got them all painted, we should be good to go. But we've got a lot.
So are there new Orcs for you? Like, what are you painting? Like new? Like, is there a new list in your head?
Oh no, not at all. I've just been organising all my models, so it's nothing about the Orcs at all specifically. It's just been about getting all my stuff together. So I've got an Eldar cabinet here. I've got a Grey Knights and Xenos cabinet over here, Imperial cabinet here, Chaos and Ogre Wartribes cabinet over here, and then I'm going to move all my other big models that don't fit in there. And my Lord of the Rings onto these cabinets on the side and just get it all kind of sorted. But it's a lot of stuff, so we're working our way through it. But I've got a Christmas holiday coming up, so I should have a lot of time to kind of get through that. I should be pretty good.
Oh, nice. Okay, John, how are you?
I mean, that's fine.
And I asked you this already. Is this because you feel a bit burnt out? You've done a lot recently? Okay, that's fair. Is it only events that really drive you to do things? Did you say? I honestly am so confused by people who just switch systems like that. They're just like, yeah, cool, I'll do Warcry now. Oh, I'll do some Blood Bowl. I'm like, what are you? Who are you? By the way, I absolutely love being a guest, especially on my own show. So this is fantastic. Because how you do your shit. This is great.
Can you guys explain to me?
All the pressure is drained off me.
Between Warcry and AOS skirmishes?
It is. There's no AOS skirmish anymore.
Cool. That's a big difference. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it's just lazy, like just lazy bullshit. But Warcries are meant to be very good. I actually, do you know what? Both Warcry and Kill Team are things that I would like to play fairly soon. I mean, within the next 3 months. I'm very interested to get into Kill Team, very interested to get into Warcry, because having played a couple of games of MCP this week, I am very interested, not because I necessarily like the skirmish style necessarily, but the thing that's exciting for me is that it's far less daunting as a hobbyist to produce an army to play with, or produce a gang, or produce a team, or whatever the situation. I just wish that the game scaled. I just wish maybe you could do, like, I think if I was to say, hey, let's play 500 points, 40k, 500 points, 40k, sorry, I bet there's a way to absolutely giga wreck that, like, that sort of system. Do you know what I mean? But I wish Games Workshop spent the afternoon it takes them to come up with a rule set to just say, like, okay, 500 point, here are your restrictions. Like, there was a more competent restriction set on 500 points. Because honestly, like the concept that I might be able to play 2 or 3, like, Tom, you come over, we could have 2 or 3 games in an evening of 500 points, genuinely sounds pretty exciting. It does.
Yeah, we can hear you fine.
I can hear you. We can hear you, buddy. John just spoke.
Brilliant.
Don't worry, John. John's just going to sort his audio, and me and Tom will carry on.
I mean, I got to talk about anyway, regardless of like that, because I know we had an issue this week with a certain group of wankers and a Kickstarter, didn't we?
Well, yeah. Let's get on to. I'd just like to let everyone know in the 40k community that I'm painting up my 40k army as fast as I can. Well, like, no one's asking.
Sorry,
me,
Rob. We forget that you're the host, dude. Wait, what are you painting up, Rob? What are you painting up?
So I'm painting up 20. So I'm basically doing orcs, right? But I'm doing the 15 squig hog riders, the knobs, the knobs on smashers, but not the smashers, the knobs, and then 20 beast naga boys for my list. What I've got to do, so because I've still got orcs to do for the kill rig, and I've still got orcs to do for the vehicles, that like the 3 squig buggies basically. So they're not perfect, but really excited about getting the army on the tabletop.
That should be good.
Like I'm super keen. The miniatures, like, I was very excited. Like, I really do like miniature wargaming. I know, like, that's a dumb thing to say, obviously, with what I do for work, but like, dude, the minis are super cool. They've got loads of flavor, and that's kind of why the conversation I was just having a minute ago. Like, I see the knob on Smasher Squig,
lovely,
fantastic model, fantastic model, and I just know that I don't have 2 or 3 days to paint it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? There's a certain amount of time I can afford. Like, my goal is for my entire Orc army to be done by New Year's Day.
Wow, that'd be really good. Yeah.
Oh, it's not. It's pretty elite, really.
It's I
the
guess.
50 squig hogs, 20 dudes, 5 vehicles, and then some characters. Right? Is the so it's not a lot of models. Yeah. But my point kind of is, I love the models. This isn't like a meta chasing army. This is like, I'm super keen, and I just really wish there wasn't that kind of like daunting amount to do. Do you know what I mean? To get it on the tabletop.
Yeah, 100%. I get that. That makes total sense. But
it's a big investment, isn't it?
I mean, you were always kind of super hyped about the Squig Hogs anyway. Like, as soon as they came out, right? It's not like something you were doing because you thought they were super good. But yeah, and you enjoyed using them against Nekos the other day, right?
Do you know that they have a shooting attack that's
I did not. Is it quite good?
It's 12-inch range, right? But it's 12-inch range, but it's AP2, damage 2. Me and Nick were both surprised. I was like, I wonder if we've got a pistol. And I looked on the data sheet. And I was like,
what's a range for, Rob?
12 inches.
Okay, well that's not too terrible. So we'll take it. It's fine.
It's the
It's
sticker,
not, is
isn't it?
it?
It's the little rocket-propelled like melee weapon that they kind of fling.
But get this. Yeah, so and the sticker in combat's AP2, but get this, Tom. Get this. There's a saddle gear. So there's a grot on the back, right?
So you hit on force.
Right, so, what?
So you hit on force. There you go.
No, he doesn't have a shooting attack. But this is what I'm trying. This is what I'm trying to get at. The effectiveness of this unit is crazy because guess what? The grot on the back is AP1.
Okay. Wait, can they make all grots AP -1?
No, I don't think all grots are. Just the saddle gears.
That'd be cool.
And I was
just
hyped.
got a chopper because Chopper's gained it, right? Every chopper's AP1.
You gave a chopper to a grot.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And
they are saddle gears.
And Glodden, to answer your question, they're IKEA cabinets. They cost like 40 quid. They're all right. Good value. But that's pretty much been your week, right? You played any more games, or you just been painting? In fact, mate, how refreshing is it just to paint your own stuff rather than terrain?
I mean, I'm very excited. I also, as you may have seen or may not have seen, I've been doing the 40k orc terrain as well.
You have, yeah.
So there's also been that kind of in the background, but I've decided I'm moving on to airbrushing it, so none of that can be on stream really. So yeah, like there's that, but that's exciting as well. Like a lot of challenges, which is really fun. And I'm super keen to get some of the 40k terrain in a very viable. I mean, I think we've already got some fantastic 40k terrain.
Yeah, we do. I've seen it. It looks great. And it's functional.
Functional.
Yeah. I really want to get it. Yeah, I really want to get it up a level because we've been asked to cover some 40k tournaments next year, which are more local. Like we've asked to do Vale Renegades again.
Yes. Yeah.
Right?
Those boys.
Which are great guys. So it would be super sweet to take some like really excellent terrain and do some like really fun, like high-end production. I've got a couple of ideas of how I can upscale the production. So I'm super keen to make sure there's a board that looks good. So apart from that,
100%.
I'm great. Thanks for asking.
Even if you had to prompt us first.
I can't even see the Twitch chat. It's so exciting.
Yeah, mate. I tell you what, it's a lot more fun when you don't have to see the Twitch chat and the strange opinions and the same. Scrivo can't be heard.
Yeah, which is weird.
200 times.
Apparently, OBS decided that my audio would just disappear, and I looked and went, "There's no bar." There is now, so I'm guessing everyone can hear me. Otherwise, they'd still be moaning, right?
Hey! We've put this together with cotton wool, so
yeah, you'll take what you get.
Exactly.
Fuck you.
So Tom, there's been some big stories this week. Some of them you want to talk about, right?
Yeah. So I'm going to start with one that's probably less obvious because there was something that popped up earlier in the week, specifically regarding James and the objective rings that he makes for Honest Wargamer, right? Yep. And I know you've already talked about it on like the Daily Show, and obviously James has been on. I think James was on the Monday show as well, wasn't he? Right?
Yeah.
But I kind of wanted to like throw my thing in there. It's not like particularly different, but I wanted to go for it anyway because fuck those guys.
Do it.
So first of all, I qualify that having worked hard on something doesn't necessarily make you immune from criticism. So while you can sympathise to the effort, if something isn't valuable, you signed up for something and because of oversights or lack of competence or whatever, it isn't up to the standard that you expect when you pay your money, you're totally within your rights to criticise it. And I've also consistently disagreed with and critiqued my mates when I don't think they're right on something or there's something that can be done better both publicly and privately. Which is why I'm being sincere when I say that James has created a brilliant product, as evidenced by the fact that everyone is now emulating it. They're clearly lying in print in the Kickstarter specifically. I'm not going to like link to it specifically, apart from critique their name in a minute. But that chart, I know that chart they did with the ticks nexus about what their objective markers do and what other ones don't looks like something the Lib Dems post from my letter election season. It was
by the way, for anyone not from the UK, the Lib Dem party is basically just an ineffectual nothing.
Yes,
and it's okay. It's okay to dunk on whichever side of the political spectrum you're on.
Well,
basically,
I mean, I live in Sheffield Hallam, which is a Lib Dem target seat because Nick Clegg used to be here, so we get all of the Lib Dem bar charts. All of them.
Oh, really? Loads of bar charts.
Every bar chart arrives.
I love a bar chart.
And while we're on it,
my favorite bar charts are ones that are kind of like not 45-degree angle, but 40, like 40-degree angle. Yeah.
It's terrible. But have you guys seen the child with mum versus the child with dad memes?
No, sir.
It's like there's a picture of the child with mum. My mum's being really careful with it. and there's a picture of like the child with dad, and the child's just like falling off a slide or something. I don't know, but dad's not really paying attention, not really, That reminded me of the fold test they did on the objectives, with one of them were just like trying to wreck the thing, and then the other one were just being really careful. It was just utterly absurd how obvious it was they were just speaking at like bullshit. I think the entire script was crap, but the most offensive thing for me was the fact that they thought that Templar Miniature Wargaming was a good name. Because have you tried Googling that? Like, you're never gonna find anything. Yeah. Such a terrible name for search optimization, but I don't know. They're just clearly manipulative chances, and fuck them, dickheads.
Yeah. John, have you been on to talk about this yet?
No,
How do you feel?
So, the rings, when James and like us were all chatting about it initially, it wasn't the first of their kind either. So it's not like we were these kind of big innovators of it. It was more the designs that were out there before in the kind of that plastic form were just, in my opinion, pretty ugly, because they were just like, here's a bunch of random textures and shapes and stuff for the sake of it. And this was about kind of making it not at all kind of overwhelming with kind of design. It was meant to be kind of just not getting in the way, right?
Yeah.
And not putting a logo on it makes very little difference in my opinion.
I mean, to be honest, mate, it did such a good job of not getting in the way, but it ended up on a certain stream because it was so, it blended so well into the background that they just didn't even notice.
I love that. Yeah. You go Games Workshop. Thanks for thanks for advertising the product, Games Workshop. You're the best.
I think in their defense, they weren't really paying attention to that part of the event at the at the venue. So it would just happen.
What are you saying?
It felt like,
humble opinion, you say Paul Murphy and Nick Nanavarti don't have a clue about Age of Sigmar?
When they were like the Giants versus the Knights, I was like, okay, cool.
I don't know what this is.
They had at one point, so just a complete sidetrack on this, they had they cut to a table where they were playing 40k versus Age of Sigmar. And this was on the GW stream. They had them making up rules for how the Knights and the Giants, or as we know them, Mega Gargants, were fighting. And I was like, cool, this is...
What were the Knights meant to be?
So it was actual Imperial Knights, or Chaos Knights. Yeah,
what?
Exactly. They kind of got the two rules sets together and just went, let's make this up as we're going along. And I was like, what? So you're showing us the high-end competitive stuff, and it's this big event. And then you cut to a table.
Things don't have a toughness value in AOS. How does this work?
Exactly, Tom. It didn't seem to be working. I was just like, why are you showing me this? Why? I was like, I just don't get it.
All right.
I didn't see that. I didn't see that. I heard about that, though. I heard about that. I guess it's that same kind of fun that you get
open play, Tom.
When there's like a riot. You're like, oh yeah, look at those guys. They're having a great time.
Was that the second exhibition game? Sorry, Rob, you finish your point. It's fine. Sorry.
No, you carry on.
After that, I think.
Carry on.
That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, it was whilst they were doing the final, they were cutting to that at the same time as well. Right. Just turning my audio up a little bit.
Whatever. Fair enough. Okay. Fair enough.
Well, either way, the objective thing is funny. Is what I'm going to say.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I haven't actually gone back and watched the games from the GW Invitational yet, but I have had a look at like some things that went on in them, regardless. But we can do that a bit later when we get into the kind of tournament results and stuff. But we have had some more community shit, I guess we could talk about, right?
Well, I mean, maybe can we talk about the hottest topic in the room?
Is it Logan?
It's well, I mean, he is gorgeous, obviously.
Sock it to me, bro.
But it's not that.
To me.
It's those bathrobes.
Oh my word! I forgot. Yeah, holy fuck. Logan in those bathrobes. Holy shit!
Just the bathrobes. What about with socks though?
Is there anything worse than those bathrobes? Is my question.
Yes, there is.
Has anyone seen those bathrobes? Are
you ready, Rob? I can name something worse than those bathrobes.
Tell me.
The candles.
I disagree. There's one thing worse than that. There's the leggings worn by someone that
the leggings are great. Fuck you.
Because
no way.
You don't need to see whether someone's manscaped or not. or a visible panty line. It's not a thing. No.
Okay, but how important are the leggings? Like, if you also take into account like sporting ages, like 40K Age of Sigmar like tops.
It's
Do you know
the
what I
same
mean?
ballpark as that, but at least you can wear
It's
a
not.
baggier version
It's
of
not.
them,
It
I
is.
suppose.
It is.
Oh,
It is the
Like
same ballpark.
wearing a
but-
sports shirt does not reveal my ball sack.
It could do though, if you're going full Winnie the Pooh.
If I wear it like a dress, maybe it works. I don't know. But...
I love the idea, and I've never heard that before, John. But now I'm super invested. I'm going out tonight, love. What are you doing? I'm going full Winnie the Pooh.
Deadpool
Top
2.
clothes only.
I stole it from a film, Rob. Yeah,
Oh,
it's
did you?
Deadpool. When he grows his legs
Oh, I've
back
never heard that.
and you see his little winky.
Sorry.
Oh.
Sorry. Okay,
Live
well,
news, by the way, Rob. Do you want to hear the AOS England team?
no.
Okay, then. Carry on.
Oh, and you'll be pleased to know that
don't
our
do that.
we should be stopping dropping frames now because I've now got a green box.
Very
Good work,
Very
John.
Didn't do
Very
anything.
good work.
Yeah, I
Just
did-
found some working internet.
Okay, so what do we think of the bathrobes? A likely purchase this Christmas? What do you think?
I prefer not to look like a cultist, so I will avoid. Both of those kind of look like cultist products. I don't.
John, where are you at with
I
it?
already have a bathrobe dressing gown that I don't wear, so to me, I'm just like, why add to the problem that it's something I don't use? And also, they've
Okay.
got weird little shoulder pad things that look like they went, oh, let's make them look like a shoulder pad from a Space Marine, but also not. They look just like someone's gone, that's close enough. That'll sort of do. Just
Okay.
breaks
Yeah,
my
I'm personally not a big fan. But I could see how. Well, I don't know who would be a fan, to be honest. Like, I saw someone like in the Twitter comment was like, "Can't wait for these," and I was like, "Okay, buddy, okay, that's exciting for you." Because some people will like them. Some people. Is there anyone in the chat who's digging them?
I think I just read that the Falcon's going to pre-order them because he's in the chat. Obviously not giving me shit, so it's fine. Yeah, people are just.
I'd like to see the Falcon Winnie the Pooh, to be honest.
Yes. So people are asking in the chat about what we think about the Custodes Blade Champion. You know, the dude with the sword.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, pretty uninspiring as a
It
miniature.
feels like they went, cool. Let's make this character up by adding like extra robes and a cool pose, and then we'll decide what he's actually for.
Come on, man! Like, are we all not just like done with? Are we all not just absolutely done with power armor? Like, Custodes are power armor, Sisters of Battle. There's only so many, like, exactly the same armor with a bit of cloak and some candles that I can get with anymore.
Just put a
Do you know
grot
what I
on it,
mean?
like, just put a grot on everything, and then it's better.
Like, no one cares. Do they? At this point, I can't care anymore. I can't care anymore about power armor dudes. However, an orc with a badass axe. Oh boy!
Like this guy.
Oh boy!
What if you put the orc in power armor?
They did. That's what they used to be. The Mega Armor was just basic power armor.
Yeah.
It looks like pseudo Space Marines in the second edition.
Hell yeah! I dig that. I'd buy that. That'd be cool.
Yeah, I'm not against it. Definitely, I'm just. I just don't. None of it excites me. The GC of the Cult stuff excites me. The GC of the stuff has got me very excited. But again, I'm going to wait till the actual rules are out. Just because it's a bit all over the place. Bathrobes, final decision. Tom, yes or no for you?
Absolutely.
In case
no.
the chat want to buy you
Holy
one.
shit, no! Please don't.
No. Okay.
If I say no, then I'm more likely to buy me one, but I can't bring myself to say yes.
John, bathrobes, yes or no? Twitch chat, yes. I can't see you, but
Definitely
yes
not.
or no?
Definitely
Twitch
not.
chat.
Although I've bought socks and an Urgling, so I'm probably not the right person to ask.
Did you buy the squig as well?
I didn't buy the squig because
Yes,
it's Christmas,
that's-
and I don't do. If it was a squig that
Whoa,
wasn't Christmas,
You could have rehomed a squig
Yeah,
that was now
but
on,
if it was
on
just
like the
a
pyre
squig,
outside
I
Games
would have bought
Workshop.
it. But a Christmas squig, a squig is for life, not
It's
just
called-
for Christmas, man.
To be fair,
No,
the baubles do fall off.
It's called Squigmas. I don't know what you're doing. You're blowing my mind. I don't know like how you haven't like cottoned onto this, and we don't always do some sort of squig-based games.
Oh man, well it's because it's Squigtober instead. If you remember 3 years ago, that's something I celebrated quite closely.
Is that the one that happened in November?
Yeah, it was in October. No, that was October in November. I actually celebrated October correctly.
My mistake.
Whilst Games Workshop didn't, and then released Buggies about a month afterwards.
Okay, yeah. I apologize. I respect other people's celebrations of squigs, even if they don't align with my personal squig-based
But
beliefs.
I did get the socks though. Right? I went to a Games Workshop local to me, and I blame the fact that I just had my booster jab.
What are they? What are they? Socks?
They're the red gobbo unpacking or packing a box with a little squig in it. There you go. Put it on the camera.
100% get those.
And
100%
I got some
get
Sigmar
those.
wrapping paper as well for my Secret Santa.
Terrible.
Person.
That's an awful decision. That's terrible. All right, just a quick one. Have we even talked about the recall of the Squig toy, Squig plushie? We just seen that.
I think we talked about it a little bit in terms of do not return because they'll burn it. Retain your squig, but
retain the squig.
So long as you've not got any small children, protect your squig at all costs.
Yeah, do not return the squig. Of course, you're absolutely right. Okay, what's next on the agenda?
So we've got 3 options. Okay, we could talk about Leicester, we could talk about the GW Invitational, or we could talk about Henry Cavill.
John,
let's
you
start with it's Warhammer, Graham.
Okay, fine. Okay.
What do you want to say? What do you want to say about this, Tom?
I'm going to have a weird take, and this is probably going to be very inflammatory.
I'm curious to see because I just don't know what to expect with this.
Partly, this is fun. Don't put the squig bubbles in your mouth. Indeed, good call. Okay. So initially, the first things I saw related to, so this is about Henry Cavill going on Graham Norton show. Graham Norton being a little bit disparaging about his hobby, I guess. Graham Norton show is a UK-based chat show where he brings on celebrities and talks to them, effectively. So initially, the first things I saw related to this were a lot of people that were very excited about Henry Cavill talking about his Warhammer hobby on the Graham Norton show. And then after a day or so, it did a weird little shift where it was talking about how derisory Graham was of it and how he was poking fun at it. Now, I get that we want to protect a hobby because we have so much invested in it, and it's such a big part of our lives. But I don't think we actually have anything to be insecure about. And at the end of the day, Graham Norton just poking fun at it is just, he's an entertainer. And if he's serious about it, it just shows how small-minded he is. But I don't think in this day and age, like, we need to ever be insecure or feel like we need to all jump out and protect a hobby. And I know that's not what people are doing. But at the same time, I'm just like, this is a fucking geeky hobby, but it's also super fucking cool. Yeah. Like, remember the noughties where people would consider people playing Call of Duty Big Red One on the PS2 as a geeky hobby, right? Like, it's no different to that. Like, unless you're a weeb, your hobby is not shameful.
But the thing about, and I agree with your sentiments about it being very cool and it not being shameful. Obviously, I already agree with that. But I think the point and the reason people got their backup about Graham Norton is very similar reason that we've all got our backup at someone at some point.
Oh yeah,
and that's because his criticism wasn't measured and level. He didn't even understand the thing, right? He was like,
that's like
what
most
is
criticism, though.
Because some criticism is really well thought out, articulated, understood.
Some is, but that's not most.
Yeah, well, this definitely wasn't, right? And I think the point about it was, like, if it had been anything else, because I actually watched the whole clip, right? And there's a bit after where he's talking to the lady that's in Spider-Man. I think she might also be in June as well, but I don't know her name. Yeah, right, where she talks about the fact that she was doing knitting. He asks a question, she explains it. He then asks follow-up questions about knitting, and then he's not derisive about it, he's quite supportive, and he's like, you know, right? And I think the reason that I think people have been maybe a tad defensive is because we've all had that conversation with someone.
I'm not saying that's unreasonable,
they haven't even taken the time to learn before they start criticizing. They come in with almost a bigotry. Like, it's a bit strong to say that, obviously.
I know,
right?
but we understand what you mean.
Yeah, like almost like a predisposition to be like, I'm going to dislike this without even listening.
It felt like he'd been given stuff from the researcher who went, he plays World of Warcraft, he paints Warhammer, and Graham went, I can make a joke out of something with this, or didn't even necessarily take the information on board. And I think that's why a lot of people got quite defensive, because it came across as like he didn't.
No, I get
it felt
that.
kind of like,
that.
oh, it's this weird sort of weird thing where people make a joke of it intentionally, right? That's how it came across to me.
Yeah, I think I think it's just a perception of it. I'm not saying people are wrong to get defensive about it. Not at all. I just think that if we all come out and say, "How fucking dare you," it makes it look like we have to be something to be defensive of. When I don't think that's true at all. I think that fucking own that shit, dude. Like I get it too. When I was at school, I hid it.
Yeah.
Even in my first year of university, I would sneak out the back of my flat of my KR multi-case, walk a quarter of the way around the city to go play at the Oxford Gaming Club, right?
Right.
But like as I've grown older, I'm just like, yeah.
And I think that's the thing.
Fuck
It
it.
becomes almost, to some hobbyists,
It's cool as shit.
it is a defensive thing though, because I can remember getting the snot
Yeah,
kicked
and
out
I'm not
of
saying
school
I'm not
for
saying
it,
they're wrong.
so
It's just
it kind of will always trigger that sort of situation. But
yeah, I'm not saying they're wrong. I'm just more going for like the PR
Yeah.
angle. You know what I mean?
yeah,
And that's never going to apply to someone's individual like feelings and individual reaction to something, right? But I'm just looking at the meta picture, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think there's a lot of things in there that are really healthy. Obviously, I did that interview with the BBC today, where they asked me a bunch of questions. And I think that the important part is, and the bit that came up that became quite relevant, because obviously in the chat we're talking earlier today about the stuff, and we were talking about mental health and how impactful that's been on the hobby. But actually, closer to home, conversation I've had recently with someone who's got really important to me was how, like, when you grow up different, because you're more creative, or or differently creative, let's put it that way, or you're like, you just aren't the same as the people around you. Like I remember very early on in my life, me and my mates would always like going out to a club and standing and just looking cool. Yeah. And I liked going out and dancing. Right. And they were like, why would you dance? Right. That's pretty like lame. They wouldn't say lame, but you know what I mean? It wasn't very manly to go dancing. Right. Basically is what the lads were saying.
I get you.
Right. And I was like, and one day I was just like, lads, I was going to go out dancing. Like, if you guys don't want to dance, I was going to go get some new mates, which is basically what I did. And the point is that it's really great to see Henry Cavill, someone who's pretty famous, talking about this thing, because like all those kids who might feel that they're a bit weird and different because they like that, because that was the thing that's me to say, they have a champion now, right? And I think that's great, which also means Graham's got to be the fucking bad guy. Let's dunk on that bitch every day. Graham now represents every gran, mum, like confused teacher, auntie that thinks we're weird. Like, you pick a person, Graham represents all of them now.
I am fucking weird, Rob. That's the point. I just needed to stop pretending that I wasn't.
Yeah, but Graham now is getting it every time, right? Anytime, like, I'm gonna start following him on Instagram. Every time he posts something, I'm gonna be like, "Oh, is that insert something else?" It'll get lost, but it'll make me happy.
But it's there, and you know
the evil,
and it's fine.
Yeah, as I fight the evil. Anyway,
you got enough to be able to like pop a notification for him. Let's have a look.
No, I don't. No, I don't do Instagram. I'm not into that.
Neither do I. Instagram has one purpose, and that's for messaging girls I meet online, and that's about it.
Well, okay. Well, this is a good opportunity for me to bring something up, Tom, because talking about using social media. Don't be worried. This is very weird, right? You talking about using social media. You made a statement on Twitter a few days ago, saying that you were stopping. Yeah, you were stopping.
Right. Oh yeah.
It leads into our next.
I forgot about this.
That you were stopping frequenting
subreddit.
Competitive 40k Reddit. Or is it 40k or is it everything?
It says it's called r/Warhammer Competitive, but that is the last time that name will ever pass my lips, because I'm fed up with it. Not because, I mean, I made this point in, like, we have a WhatsApp for the dudes that do the show, and I was talking with Logan about it and saying, look, it's a subreddit about improving, and therefore it ends up like getting filled up with like average players who want to improve, right? And then at a certain point, those average players think that they're somehow now great players because they frequent these places where people want to improve, right? So they start telling everybody else how to play, and all you end up with is effectively an echo chamber where average players are telling other average players how to play. And if you listen to an average player's advice on how to play, you're going to become an average player. And that's not necessarily like I think it's cool that people like discussing the hobby and their competitive thing, but it's not a particularly serious place for people wanting to improve. My issue with it isn't that, though, because I think that's perfectly fine. I think that's, it's just an outlet for people. My issue with it is...
Oh, can I want to hear your
No,
point,
you go for it.
but I don't want to move past this. Just want to respond. It reminds me a lot of that Game of Thrones scene with Tywin Lannister and what's his name, Joffrey, where Joffrey's like, "I am the king," and then Tywin's like, "Any person who has to say he's the king." Isn't really the king. And it really reminds me of every Facebook post I've ever seen where someone's like, "I'm the 13th best Necron player in my state," and you're like,
oh, you put your ITC rank in your podcast bio. People that do that. It's kind of cringe, isn't it?
Is that a thing you can do?
It's a thing I've seen certain people do. Certain people who are not necessarily strangers to my criticism. It's not John.
I did actually check mine earlier. I think I'm something like 26th in the UK for Dark Angels with a really shit score, which just means all the other guys aren't great either.
Applause. There we go.
Reshoot. Can we reshoot the whole show just so we could
reshoot? I think here's what we're going to do.
156
Are you
in
ready?
The world, I think, for Dark Angels, and I played some really shit
in
lists.
February.
So bad.
We're going to give John a faction, and we're going to make John number 1 in that faction in the UK on the ITC rank.
Good luck, because this is the only faction I'm ever playing ever again competitively.
That's fine. Dark Angels, bang, got it. Oh,
I'm sticking to my
number 1 Orc.
You're not going to beat me, John. You're not going to beat me.
In 2019, I was best Death Skulls because no one ever took Death Skulls solo, and it was always just Orcs, so I was 6th. There you go. For Death Skulls.
Anyway.
Clever. Smart.
So anyway, I go into this. There's this thread that's on there, right? About who are the best and famous players, and it's full of all the usual people who think the world ends at the Atlantic Ocean. It's like this. In fact, no, I can't. That's a spoiler for an anime, so I won't say that. But anyway, I think the world ends at the Atlantic Ocean, and therefore they're like, "Oh yes, definitively, this is the case." And I'm like, "Okay, if you say so, fine." But that isn't necessarily my issue. My issue is if I went into this thread, and the top comment in that thread was a guy accusing a certain player of cheating Alex Fennell at the LVO in 2018. Now, that top comment, but it was beneath a pinned post, and that pinned post was no witch hunting, right?
Right.
And this person who they accused of cheating Alex Fennell wasn't even at the LVO 2018. They're a very famous player, but they'd got their fucking name wrong. And so now everybody, 71 upvotes at the top of this thread, with 70,000 people in the sub, top post, top comment, see this accusation of this guy cheating. Okay? No basis to it whatsoever. The idiot who posted it doesn't even know the guy's name. And this was up for 16 hours.
Am I right in thinking that it was a person of color mistaken for another person of color?
No.
That's what I thought it was.
Two white dudes.
Okay.
It's a different thing. But equally, but you scroll down the thread. And they're witch hunting a whole bunch of other people as well. When they said no witch hunting, there was only one person who wasn't mentioned in that thread, and the comments were deleted. And it was TJ. Everyone else got lambasted. Even if they got their fucking name wrong.
TJ, the aggressive cheater, Lanigan.
The guy who rolled dice and pretended there was something else on cam. Yes, that guy. So yeah, I mean, it's just mental that they were allowed that to stay up. And this isn't just like one example. I've seen this repeatedly, and I think it's utterly shameful that they allowed such things to stay up for such a long period of time when it's demonstrably false. And also, I can't learn anything from it. The only reason I'm there anyway is to just be mean to people, which at the end of the day, I look back on that and I'm thinking...
It's not healthy.
It's not healthy. It's funny when they say dumb shit, but at the same time, it's like...
So I didn't go in any of the Facebook
They're just having
groups.
fun, man. They're just having fun.
Yeah. I guess
but,
your point is, and it's very much, and I'm going to relate this to Tom in such a hard way. He's going to fucking clap me. Yeah. very much like Tom. The Roman Empire, one of your favourite things. I know.
Here we go. One of my favourite things. Here we go.
Because,
I might not even disagree with you here. It depends where you go.
Well, I'm not. Is the emperors know that they had to control the masses, right? Then they had to control the story, right? Which is why they had which is why they had public speakers go out there and conform the general consensus of what the conversation is. I guess your point is that such a large platform full of so many people getting the wrong end of the stick, especially accusing someone of being a cheater, and it's wrong, and the people not being and not helping to resolve that conversation is very irresponsible, which is not fair, right?
Well, specifically, it was also like with this Severan dynasty in particular, that it was about controlling the army. So Septimius Severus drastically increased the pay of the legions in the field and debased the currency to do so, because he recognized the power to make and break emperors lay with the army, and that's one of the main driving forces towards the crisis of the 3rd century. So it's not even just about controlling the story, but it's also about controlling and appealing to those who will be able to assist you in that, right? Not that I'm saying that's I think that 40k is doing, but it is very interesting that the people they were actively going out and deleting comments for were Americans, and a very famous UK player was being accused of being a cheater for an event he didn't even attend because the person got the surname wrong.
But that's gonna just happen.
Yeah.
I've always loved your NA bashing and your Eurocentric look at 40k, and I'm pro it.
It's self-aware. It's self-aware.
No, do you know what? I always wonder. I'm like, how much shall I let Tom go on, like, because he bashing the NA and like, and his love for the Euros.
Fair,
and I think listen, I'm with you. Let's just fucking go Euro, because it's a quicker trip. I don't want to go to North America. It's too far. We'll pop over to Spain. We'll get some sun. We'll play some 40k. Yeah, we'll have a nice time. It seems much more our lane. Is what I'm saying.
I could see something here. So Neil Kerr's in the chat, right?
Yeah.
Neil,
lovely guy.
Would you be able to put the USA and Wales in the same group at WTC?
I think that's actually called match fixing.
Because think of the content.
I think that's cool.
It doesn't matter. Think of the content, Rob.
It's
not match fixing. How is it match fixing?
Because you'll beat them.
No one's agreeing a result. I'm saying, look, if we played each other, it'd be great. Oh yeah, true. It is match fixing because he's giving us. It's like people who grudge the worst player in the field.
Just to get a good win at the beginning.
Yeah.
It's
true.
You've tried
that.
that.
Think of the content. Mate, every sport needs a showman. Like, come on.
Everyone needs a heel. Everyone needs a heel.
So with these groups, Tom, to me, this it makes me think of like, if you don't like drunk people, you don't go to a pub. So I find those sorts of people sitting in a chat.
If you don't like Americans, you don't.
So it's like, if you don't want to hear people making ill-informed opinions and witch hunts, don't go in those groups. I found the healthiest thing I've done is if there's any chats that annoy me, like WhatsApp chats or Facebook groups, I just bin them off straight away, because all of my feeds then are just not full of shit. And if someone annoys me on Twitter, I don't mute them. I just unfollow them, and then they just don't turn up. I
block them, baby.
It's just done. I just don't have to worry about it.
I want them to know. I want them to fucking know.
Coward,
right? I block them. Also, if I want dumb opinions, I just go into the YouTube comments for the Honest Wargamer. But if I want great opinions, I go into the Twitch chat and I talk to the Twitch homies.
Yeah.
And then,
according to Neil on the Content Loss podcast, Tiffus and Pumba have been bashing the UK and US scene so hard, and I'm looking at that thinking, of all the people who are allowed to bash the UK scene, those are probably the two correct guys, because they're Polish and we steal all our lists from Poland.
Yeah.
So I accept that.
Smitty Pence.
Okay.
Smitty Pence
I hope I've won over the Twitch chat. I can't even see him, so I hope they're on my
Smitty Pence
side.
has made a great point. He left his family WhatsApp, so he's done the right thing. So if those guys are annoying you, just fuck them off.
Yeah, I'm with you. Yeah, that's great. Okay. So you left that, and that's Tom. I think sensible decisions all round, basically there. So,
hell yeah. I don't need that shit in my life.
And I agree with what John says.
Great content out of it.
Yeah.
It's just healthier.
Yeah.
If it's your hobby,
that segues quite nicely into an American event, though.
Go for it.
All right. So, allegedly this weekend there was a Games Workshop invitational event. Now, I didn't know about this until about like a couple of days. In fact, that's not true.
About 12 hours.
Goonhammer leaked it.
So the first thing to probably talk about is the publicity, right?
Yeah.
So I actually this afternoon I did some research just to see what they'd done in advance. So I went to the Warhammer community website to see what they'd done, and I struggled to read it because we've got a new site background
With snow.
covered in snow and art, which does not go well with the small black text, which kind of blends into it a little bit.
Cute, though.
But it's fine. It is cute. I just can't read it. When I did find the article, I read it. So it was something about come and watch the best 40k players in the world play this event or whatever. And I made a snarky tweet because I thought it was funny about how Erding and Skark weren't there. But anyway, whatever, it's fine. So in this article, here's what I learned about the event. It's happening in Texas at the Warhammer Citadel. So that's like the mini Warhammer World in Texas. Okay. It was the AOS and 40k finales taking place over 2 days with finals and awards on the Sunday. I don't know what the 40k and AOS finales are. Nick and Paul were commentating. Mike and Nick will be playing a show match on the Friday. And the games will use 2 new missions from the Grand Tournament pack. And then it gave you the missions. Then it gave you a schedule of when there will be exhibition and championship matches, that it was live on Twitch, and specifically tells us not to miss the awards ceremony at the end, where the winners will be celebrated, but they didn't bother to actually celebrate the players honoured enough to be invited in the first place.
What, did they not stream the awards?
I have no idea. I didn't watch it. I was still in Bath at that time. But it was quite... In the article, it tells us to celebrate the winners, but at the same time, it doesn't tell us who the people who won or did well in their events were to get invited in the first place. So we weren't celebrating them at all.
Or which games they
stream. Whatever.
I don't think the article actually tells you that either. So
it tells you it was doing an exhibition match on the Friday, which was Nick versus Mike, which is the only one we knew anything about. It said that we had an exhibition match in the morning on Saturday and a championship match on the afternoon. Then another exhibition match in the Sunday morning and another championship match in the evening, but I didn't know what the championship matches and the exhibition matches were.
I don't think I read any mention of Age of Sigmar, let's put it that way. To me, I was surprised when I saw some.
Yeah, I mean, they did mention it a little bit that it would be on, but I don't think they talked about like broadcasting and what have you. So I actually went to the Goonhammer preview because they actually leaked the news first, so they might have known more. So I had a look, and it told me who was actually going, and it told me what the criteria was. So there were 4 people who were invited to come and play because they got best overall at the various Games Workshop events. Mm-hmm. Those were Dan Boyd, Cannon Biggs, Sasha Edelkraut, and Blake Law. I don't know any of those guys, unfortunately. And then they invited 4 people from the best general category. Now, these weren't necessarily people, but one Games Workshop event because there was only one person that did that and he couldn't make it because it was so much last minute. So you had James Kelling, who writes for Goonhammer sometimes. You had Brad Chester, who's a legend. You had Manny Chima fly back over from the UK, and you had Jack Harpster as the Art of War representative playing his Blood Angels. So what I'm mainly going to be focusing on is the best generals, because the way this works was it's broken down into 2 categories for the championship, right? So you had the best overall people having their own little mini knockout tournament. I say knockout, but it's a mini tournament. And then you had the best generals having theirs. Okay, so I'm going to ignore the exhibition matches as well because it doesn't really matter too much. If you want to follow it live along, Goonhammer live blogged it, and that was done by Robert Jones.
That was great. Loved that.
Yeah. Now, I like Robert, so when I say this, I mean it with love, but it was very funny watching him say something and then get pied immediately. So, for example, the first thing he said was Manny will need to hold his Talos back against James Kelling because he's taken to the last. And then the next picture is just Manny ramming all his Talos into the center of the board because that's how Manny plays. Manny just goes straight in your face, aggressive all the time. The next thing he said was that Craft Worlds were going to have a really uphill battle against Jack Harpster's Blood Angels. And then the Craft Worlds won the game. And then later on, he predicted Brad to beat Manny.
Impossible.
No, but when you're playing against one of the best players in the world, TM, then it's tricky. And then he predicted Brad to win the final because Brad was more familiar with his faction. Little does he know, Manny doesn't know what any of his rules do in any of his factions, and he still does okay. So it was, Manny obviously won that round, which makes Manny the greatest player in the world.
Yeah, officially.
So Warhammer is coming home and has come home.
So Warhammer was always home.
Well, so let me get this right. But... As we understand it right now, the 2 best 40k players in the world are Manny and Winters.
Exactly. both British.
Which
That's
we
why I was
need.
going to turn up with my Union flag.
So we need a showdown between them both. Do we not?
Yes, I think we do. Yeah, we do. We do. Unless Mikey took the unofficial Belt of Winters, I haven't watched that battle report yet. So maybe it happened. We'll have to see.
It's unofficial, so it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
Who cares? Manny won. What was Manny running?
So right, okay. So of the 4 lists that were submitted for this event, 3 of them were fixed cities.
Yep.
So that is Drukhari with Talos Grotesques, Cronus, Rax, right?
Yep.
And then one of them was Blood Angels, which is run by Jack Harster, because Jack Harster doesn't run anything but Blood Angels.
Okay.
And then Jack bullied Brad into taking something that was not fixed city, so he took Craftworlds in the end.
Okay.
So yeah, it should be that was effectively what ended up happening. I want to talk about a little bit about Fixed City actually, because it did make quite a lot of appearances over the course of these 2 events. The Falcon was talking on the adjacent show about how it's the best list. I don't actually disagree, but I don't fully agree that I think it's the best for singles right now, 100%. But I think it's based upon the meta that it plays in, rather than it just being objectively the best.
Completely disagree, by the way. Completely disagree.
Okay, that's fine.
It's 15 squid holes and everything. That's the core. That's Fixed City. Yeah.
I mean, if they minus 1 damage too.
AP2 on their shooting, Tom. I don't know how many times I have to say it, but it's fantastic.
Okay.
Sorry, you carry on.
Okay, so one of the things you do when you're prepping for a tournament, right? Rob, you're going to a tournament.
Yes.
Okay.
Sir.
You're going to a tournament this weekend.
Yeah, I can't wait.
What lists do you expect to play against? Okay.
Drukhari, Admech. Oh, not as much Admech. Sisters, Grey Knights.
Okay.
Thousand
Grey Knights.
Thousand Suns.
You guys have missed a very obvious one over here. Okay.
Space
where's
Marines.
the Tyranids?
Oh, on Tyranids at Hive Guard.
Yeah.
I'm not expecting
let's say I'm looking at 3 or 4 builds that I'm
don't know
really
anyone
expecting
who's
to
a
have
dick.
to play if I want to win the event. Okay. Yep. Fair enough. So let's say I'm looking at 4 or so builds that I'm going to look to play against, right? I'm going to play against Hive Guard.
Yeah.
Well, if I'm playing Drukhari, I can't take trading Drukhari because I don't get a trade against that. I just die. But Fixed City will give me a chance. Okay.
Fixed City will give you
if I'm playing against Drukhari, if the Drukhari is Fixed City, then then trading doesn't beat that most of the time, although it can do. You just have to get quite lucky. You probably just want to go for another Fixed City mirror. If you're playing against Grey Knights, I think that might be one of the ones where trading is slightly better, but I don't think it's a massive difference. Whereas with the Hive Guard matchup, it absolutely is a massive difference. So those are the 3 main factions that I'm expecting to run into. And for all of those, I probably want to go Fixed City because it just does better into all of them. Now, if you take things like Hive Guard out of the equation, and you take things like, then maybe Fixed City isn't quite as popular because you can just go trading build and you don't have to worry about it because you're not having to worry about hitting these massive builds where they just kill all your transports turn 1, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think it is the strongest list to take singles right now, but I think it's also meta dependent. I also think that if you're playing teams, you probably end up taking the trading because you're able to control that Hive Guard matchup a lot more, but also you're able to play in multiple different styles rather than just running at your opponent and hoping you can grind through. If you want to take a grind list, you can take various different factions that can do that. Things like Necrons, things like Death Guard, things like maybe even Thousand Suns that effectively do the same role. And then use your Drukhari as a bit of a speed bump that can get points if anything. So I think it's probably the strongest singles list to take right now, but I also think that's meta dependent rather than based on innate strength within the list.
John, I think the strongest singles list is Orcs. And that's specifically because of AP2. Yeah,
I think it's still, you can't get enough stuff in an Orc list to do what I like to do. No, it still runs out of steam. You can still run out of steam with it, whilst like the way that Drukhari build works, it stays alive long enough.
Scrivo, can I point out that you took a squig off in your Orc list? Maybe that's where some of the points are going missing.
I've changed my list drastically since then, and I still struggle with it. So
you only played Dark Angels, yes?
No, not them. I've been playing Orcs.
What is in your current list, John? Like, talk to me about your current feelings with Orcs. I really want to know.
My current list.
Thank you, by the way, John. Tom, for I think a really great little review there for a second. So I want to say that.
No problem.
My current list is actually basically stolen, Rob.
Oh, really? Who from?
Brian, who took out another event that Tom's going to bring up in a sec.
Okay.
Brian C.
Yeah, it's a great list. So
one of the Scottish boys. He's a good lad, Brian. I like Brian.
My thing that I've been trying to get to work in my list in the last couple of weeks has been putting in Deathcopters, and it was nice to see a list that had a big blob of them do great, because I really like them as a unit.
Oh,
I've always enjoyed them. Like in 7th edition and 8th edition, I use them because I like the models. But actually seeing them actually have a purpose now is great. So.
Okay. All right.
And I've got 20 of them, so they better be good.
Well, this brings us on very nicely to Tom's next point, right?
Yes.
What do you mean with Leicester GT?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, before we get into that and the specifics of the lists, I want to talk about what exactly did well at Leicester GT, because it was a big event of 300 players. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then the top 4 at the end of that made a kind of mini tournament, and then the winner of that then won the Leicester GT.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So the undefeated players at the end of day 2 were Brian Seep and his Orcs, Boris Mishev and his Drakari from Bad Dice
Boris
Cafe.
from Bad Moon.
John King and his Dark Angels.
Right, Boris.
Somehow Dark
It's a
Angels.
very boring list.
Give away in there.
Such a boring list.
It's Dark Angel Scribble.
I know, but it's
kind of a feature.
Why is it
some
boring?
dude called Tom Loman playing
that's
Drakari.
Ugly Tom, as friends of the show would know.
I can't ever call him that now.
Yeah.
He's too beautiful.
I know.
So
That's why I loved that you made that a thing, and he got quite upset, and it was lovely.
he's gorgeous. Gorgeous. So Tom Lohman, if you're listening, you're gorgeous.
He is.
Yeah.
He is. We had Joe Malin. He was playing Drakari as well. We had Simon Edwards playing Thousand Suns. We had Don Maidlow playing yet another Drakari. Henry Byrne playing Thousand Suns, and David Schmidt playing Knights for Renegades, and that was all the 5 wins, guys.
Yeah.
And then we had Catherine filling out the top 10 with 4 wins and a draw with his Death Guard. So that was the top 10, and the top 4 were Brian, Boris, John, and Tom Lohman. So that is 2 Drakaris, 1 Orcs, and 1 Dark Angels, filling out the top section there.
Mm-hmm.
So I have got all of the top lists. When I can scroll through my thing, there we go. Just have a look, because I screenshotted all of them. So which one do you want to go first? Do you want to go for the Drakari list first very quickly, or shall we get straight into it?
Well, no, can we not talk about who won the? I want to know who won the event. Talk to me about that list.
So Brian was one of the Scottish boys. He came down with Ennis.
Yep.
And he was playing Orcs. He was one of the Battle of Britain guys for Scotland a couple of weeks ago, and he was running an Orc freebooters list.
Yes.
So if you can take this through, I'll read it out. I mean, if you could take us through it, that'd be absolutely fantastic. So we had a Beast Boss on Squigglesworth.
Yep. Yes.
In his Outrider detachment. Yeah, there you go. Who was the big killer boss, the Head Whopper's Kill Chopper. I really enjoyed saying that.
Such a good weapon.
The strategy, and then he had another stratagem for extra gubbins to take a relic. Then he had a big mech with a custom force field. He had 1 squad of 5 Death Copters. That's 250 points, by the way. Had a squad of 3 custom booster blaster wagons, the buggies. He also had a squad of 3 Mechatrack Scrapjet buggies and a squad of 3 Truck Squig buggies. So he had 9 buggies in the list altogether. He then had 2 Wasbomb Blaster Jets, as we already know their potency. And then he had another detachment, which was another freebooters one, this one being a patrol, with a Death Killer Wartrike, 1 squad of 10 Gretchen, 1 squad of 5 Commandos, and 2 squads of 5 Stormboys. So I'm guessing that's mainly a scoring kind of detachment. So a little bit.
So sorry, you cut up
Script.
there. What were you saying?
A little bit, mate.
So a lot of it centers around. So traditionally, if someone's going to bring things like Stormboys and Commandos, they'll put them into Death Skulls to give them obsec. So that means that those units have that purpose. In this list, you can spend 1 CP as a freebooter to make one of the units gain obsec, so you don't need to split your clan.
Cool. So it doesn't matter about losing Death Skulls.
And more importantly,
and also it works for bikes.
Yes, and his Death Killer Wartrike has the freebooter relic, which takes away obsec as well. So you can situationally give obsec and take it away once per turn, which is a really cool kind of feature. The Boom Blasters are an interesting buggy that we haven't seen too often in other people's lists, apart from if they're taking all, like, since the FAQ, because they've got flamers as well. And the main gun is strength 7, -1, 2 damage, I think it is. So as kind of a good way of dealing with kind of things like Dread Knights and stuff, you can deal with stuff that you might not have the firepower for otherwise. And you can clear screens with things like the flamers, because they're 12-inch range flamers, if I remember rightly.
But also you go big fast as well, so you can just kind of drive up. Are they assault as well?
Good question. That is a very good question. They're not.
Because
one
if
I've
they
used
are,
much,
you can
so-
advance up
Yeah.
as well and then just flay them.
Yes,
So it's
yeah.
pretty good. And what are the dev copters for? How do they work?
So you can. There's two ways you can use them. I think he wasn't doing the deep strike route, which I think is wise when it's a big unit. But essentially, you can move forward. If you've as freebooters, if you've killed something that phase, you get +1 to hit. So they'd be hitting on 4s with 2d3 rockets each, which are 8 minus 2 flat 3 damage.
Wow.
Which is pretty bonkers.
So like the wing missiles on the
So pretty solid. And on top of that, if you need them to do combat, they have 6 attacks each from their spinning blades, which are basically like slightly better versions of choppers. I think. Let me get the profile up because it surprises people when you kind of hit them with it. So they're strength 5, AP -1, 1 damage. So slightly better strength. So it's 21 attack. I think it's 18 attacks from 3, so it'd be 30 attacks from the 5 of them getting into combat.
That's pretty good.
Cool.
That's a fast unit as well. Yeah.
So
I
find them quite fun, and they're ramshackle as well. They're T5 and
that
4
ramshackle's fantastic.
Yeah.
And can I just say that I think one of the really nice things about an orc army at the minute, which I wasn't that impressed about, and it doesn't really relate to. Doesn't really relate to the boys themselves. Like, when they're like, oh, they're toughness 5 now. But like a lot of these armies are pretty high toughness across the board. Like you're looking at 6 upwards for most of the wounds in an army, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Tom, John,
right?
Like all the vehicles are right. That's toughness 6,
and then the
Well,
squig hogs
death copters might be 5.
They're 5 because they're basically a bike. They're a flying version of a bike.
Okay.
So they're not quite as many wounds, but they have a great job because obviously fly keyword as well in a tournament situation. A lot of the time you can find that these bikes just struggle to get around if there's too much cover or someone screens you out well.
100%. I mean, when you're like a vehicle or a bike, it's basically mandatory to be fly at that point, right? You need it, otherwise you're just going to struggle.
If you are wanting them to get into combat as well, there's obviously the strat of ramming speed. You can pick it because they're vehicle keyword, I think.
So what does that do, John?
For 2 CP, you get 3d6 inch charge, and on a 2-up, you do d3 mortal wounds to a unit you end up with an engagement range.
That's great.
So you can guarantee the charge as well.
Pretty good.
And if you were to choose them from putting them into deep strike and dropping them down, you've got that opportunity to make that 9-inch charge not so shite, which is kind of cool, right?
Very cool.
Yeah, 100%. It's still a bit risky.
I don't think Brian was, from my understanding of a couple of his games. He was holding them back a turn and then bring them forward.
And then just threatening. Yeah, I think they're just good to threaten, especially on turn 1 as well, so you can't really push mid-board. I like it. It's a good list, mate. I think it's cool.
And then the 2 Wasbomb Blaster Jets probably did some good work for him as well.
I love that they're good now. Like, I love it. Like, I'm never going to be mad about it ever. Like, just keep having your day, Wasbomb Blaster Jets, because you're weird and it's fantastic.
Yeah.
So, shall we move on to the next list?
Yeah.
Sure. Congratulations to him.
Yeah, such a cool
100%
such a cool list. It's very lean.
He played against... Yeah, absolutely. It's very unique. It's definitely not something he's yoinked. It's good. I like it. He played against Boris Mishev in the final. And he was running something he called Fin City. So let's have a look and see what it is. So it's Cabal of Blackheart initially. He's got a Court of the Archon with 3 Sliff, 1 Lemaine, and 4 Ghoul in it. And then he's got the Archon to go with that. That has got Tolerated Ambition for the Djinn Blade. But he's also got Ancient Evil, which makes things fight last rather than the Hatred Eternal. So it's more of a utility Archon with a little bit of bite to it. You've then got a squad of Cavalite Trueborn with a standard setup of 1 Dark Lance and 2 Blasters. Then he had 1 squad of 5 Incubi and 1 squad of 5 Mandrakes, and that was backed up by 2 Ravagers, which you can talk a little bit about. They're a little bit more new. And then you've got 3 Raiders of the Dark Lances in there as well. He then had a second detachment. This was Artist of the Flesh, and that had Drazheart in it. Good call there. But he's also made his Warlord to give it Hatred Eternal, so he's got rerolls to them there. Then he had 3 squads of 5 Racks, and then finally there was a patrol detachment with Artist of the Flesh again. That had a Succubus in it, and then it had 2 squads of Racks. No, another 3 squads of Racks, and then another squad of Incubi and 2 squads of Hellions. So this isn't really This isn't a fixed city list. It's more of a trading build, but rather than taking things like the witches and taking things like lots of incubi and a second squad of succubuses, you've gone for the racks. Now the racks all in here have individual liquefier guns, which although they got hit by the dark technomancer changes, they're still decent, right? So they're not +1 to wound, like 2 damage, but they're still very, very useful for just clearing out stuff. And also, if you don't fire the obsec racks on the objective, they're probably going to hold most objectives because obsec in center of board isn't too common, and especially when you can spaff out 6 units that do that, you can afford to lose them a little bit more, and it works quite well. One thing that I want to talk about a little bit are the Ravagers. So we have 3 Raiders in here, one for the Cabal of Blackheart, one for some trading units. So you're not floating around loads of Raiders, but the reason that the Ravagers are popping up a little bit more is because they're kind of like the Cabal of Blackheart, except cheaper. So, for example, it's 130 points for a Ravager, and then 145 points for the Cabal of Blackheart, and then you got to put the Cabal of Blackheart in the Raider as well. So by that point, you're spending about 250 points to make that work. Whereas for 260 points, you can get 2 Ravagers, which give you 3 Dark Lances hitting on 3s, rerolling one of the dice, a Cabal of Blackheart, and effectively achieve the same thing. So there was a little bit of a murmur about people just dropping the True Board altogether, taking the Raider for something else, and then just using one Ravager and fire and fading it behind walls repeatedly, right? Or the Drukhari equivalent of that, even though it is 2 CP. With this one, it's actually changed down to having the 2 Ravagers and the Cabalite Trueborn, just because it's still more chassis to get rid of. Although you're dropping Raiders down, you've now got 2 more vehicles you're floating around the board that people have to really deal with, or you think they have to deal with, right? Sometimes you can just ignore them. But it's one of those where at least you're putting the pressure on. You've still got those vehicles that are kind of pushing up the board. And if you need to, even if they're not too scary, what you often want to do with Raiders, you want to push them up. But what if you just push the Ravagers up first? So you have turn 1 Ravagers go forward and you have Raiders behind. But it can start as a nice screen because 130 points isn't too much, really, to ask. And also, if it's not useful in a matchup, it's just not useful in a matchup. So you might as well make use of it as a screen for your Raiders in the first place, right? So you can have a screen for a screen for a screen. So you'll have, I would assume you'd have 1 Raider with the Cabalites, 1 Raider with the Court of the Archon, and then another Raider with 2 squads of Incubi in it, and then you'd be running your racks around individually, which is fine. Although potentially you could just keep the Incubi back as like a counter charge and just run the racks around and just dump them out on objects in the center. I think it depends on mission. If you're playing something about like Vital Intelligence, maybe you want some racks in the center that you can just dump out onto little objectives and what have you, especially with the CP changes. Although we'll have to see how the new missions work and see how this tweaks.
Sure, agreed.
Rob's just like, yep.
I could do the second Drukhari list while we're at it if you want, just before we get back into Scriver. Oh, does Scriver want to do the? Do you want to do the Deathwing list, mate?
It's just 3 big blobs of Terminators with chain fists.
No. I'm gonna read it, and then you're gonna tell us.
Exactly what I've been fighting. It's what I've been fighting against. It's horrible. It's probably the most effective way of playing the book.
Let me explain. Okay, right, ready. It is Deathwing Vanguard Detachment. Okay, you ready?
Yep.
It's got Azrael.
Yep.
Got Ezekiel.
Yes.
It's got a nameless Blade Guard Ancient with some stuff.
Call him Derek.
A decisive tactician, heavy bolt pistol, Pendant of Remembrance, hero of the chapter. Don't know what any means.
It's the stratagem to.
It's got a big squad of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think that's 10 Deathwing Terminators. It's got another squad of 10 Deathwing Terminators. All these have chain fists, by the way. Okay. It's got another squad of 10 Deathwing Terminators. Okay. Then it's got an Apothecary. Then it has
a bike, right?
A Terminator. Ravenwing Apothecary, yes. And then it's got another squad of 10 Terminators. John, how do you feel?
I feel like it does the job of sitting around not dying sufficiently, but it's also incredibly boring.
Why is this 1-5 games? Script.
Oh, because it has things it can do, but it does feel like it's just blobs of Terminators just standing around, holding and killing, and not dying.
But isn't it?
So why have Defenders not been winning?
Isn't it going to be either that or the other though? Isn't it either going to be like that trading game on the objectives, or it's going to be someone holding that objective, right?
Yeah,
it's going to be either or.
So it's interesting because Azrael gives them all a 4-up invan. So they don't need to be have shields. So that's why he's got the guns instead of them being melee guys. But it doesn't have anything to deal with things like vehicles other than in combat. So it obviously doesn't set out to be trading at all.
Yeah,
but
but I
it
do
doesn't
love the idea of like 10
It's very
Terminators punching
cinematic.
a tank
It
to
feels
death.
narrative, right? It's just they have to all teleport down, and then that's the game. But I just
Does it just mean
can I
that
ask
there
John?
doesn't feel like a lot of like tactical nuance
Yeah.
for the player?
to me, it feels very bland as something I wouldn't want to play. I know it's had some great success, but to me as a player, I want to use all the cool toys, and that's why I failed miserably with Dark Angels.
Oh, but
So I want to ask a very quick question, John. Like Dark Angels have kind of been sat around 48% win
Yep.
rate for a bit,
Yeah.
right? They've kind of been figured out. They haven't really been doing well at
Yeah.
events because they just do one thing. Why is this list gone 5-0?
I can't help but feel.
Feel free to be brutal.
I think people don't know how to deal with it, perhaps, or part of me thought like I want to look. I don't know what his matchups were like.
I'll go and have a look at his
Because that was
matchups
the
now
thing
while
I
you-
considered
while
as
you,
well, 'cause, like-
hypothesize.
Because to me, it's just like it's still 4-up saves. So eventually, if someone's got enough shots, it should deal with it. You can only wound them on 4s because they've got basically all permanent transhuman. Ezekiel's got. I think the powers he had. There's one that's turning off someone's obset, one that's fight last, and what was the other one? The other power he had. It was all stuff that you would be expecting to see. And then there's the Penitence of Remembrance, which is, oh god, what does that even do? Because that's the clutch of it. I think they basically clutch around that, don't they? Let me find out what it does.
I don't know. I don't know Dark
No,
Angels.
it's something I've never used because I always had a bias playing them to have the mobility. I like fast moving stuff, so I always kind of compromised and put in some Ravenwing. And look at my results; it shows that it didn't have.
I mean, 48% isn't too bad a win rate.
On BCP.
Yeah.
He could have just
No, it's
played
fine.
super well.
It's in the margin. Yeah, but it's also one of those one-dimensional lists where I'm trying to work out what he would have done differently, and I think that's cool,
Yeah.
right?
So I'm guessing he would have taken things like Stubborn Defiance, the auto take secondary, and then to the last because he's got 3 big blobs that people aren't going to kill. So it's
4 big blobs because he's got the squad of 10 Terminators at the bottom as well.
oh yeah,
I mean, it's not quite the same, but it's still decent, right? So it's 40 Terminators just wandering about the field, just
Kicking ass.
kicking stuff around, I guess. Yeah.
There you go.
So,
It's
last one in the
-1
top
There you
4.
go. It's -1 damage banner, and then having the apothecary next to them.
There you go. That's really good, actually.
It's
That's
basically
really
like
nice.
Space Marines
That's
trying to be their best version of a Coven army. Is basically the way my brain read the list.
Yeah, fair play. So it's a similar thing. Right, nice. While we're on it, we'll go to the second Drakari list and rounding up the top 4. So we had... sorry, let me just get the fellow's name again because I want to make sure I don't get it right. It's Tom Lohman. Oh, yeah, of course. There we go.
Beautiful Tom.
Oh god, he's been upgraded.
Yeah,
there you go.
Okay.
So Tom, Rob, you only call people beautiful if they're successful at tournaments.
No, if I've met them.
Oh, okay. Fair enough.
That
Makes
seems
sense.
reasonable.
So I'll go through Tom's list very quickly. It's Cabal of Blackheart Patrol, Archon, Ancient Evil again, Tolerated Ambition. No Gym Blade on this one though. It's literally just in there just to tag stuff and make it fight last. You've then got the same setup for Cabal like Trueborn, 2 Ravagers in there again as well. And then you've got 1 Raider in that detachment. You then have a second detachment in there. So this is a homunculus, squad of 10 Hamoxites, which is the upgraded. Yeah, that's a weird choice. 2 squads of 5 racks in there as well. And then 2 squads of Grotesques, both those are 5-man. And that is followed up by a squad of 2 Talos, 1 individual Talos. And then finally, you've got a Cult of Strife detachment with 2 Succubuses. Very nice. One of which has Precision Blows, Dark Lotus, Toxin, and Razor Flail. So that's 14 attacks that do 2 damage every time, as mortal wounds every time you roll a 6 to hit. And that ends the combat section. And then you have another Succubus that doesn't have Show Stealer with just the Triptych Whip and no competitive edge in there. Then you have 1 squad of 5 witches, so it's literally just a Cult of Strife included just to take some succubuses that we were reliably informed have point increases on them. So I'm trying to work out how the points have gone here because it doesn't feel like he's got too many Talos or Cronus. Most of it appears to have gone into the Cabalite Trueborn and the Ravagers. It's a little bit of a halfway house for me. But I can see where he's gone with it. So he's still got the backup of the Dart Lance and what have you, but equally he's sacrificing a little bit of a pushing power to do so. So it's not full fixity where you go Grotesques, Talos, Cronus, and just say, here's as many -1 damage, big toughness wounds as I can lob into your face. Here you go. Instead, it's kind of gone for a little bit of I'm going to have some shooting backup as well, which might bite you in the ass if you go second and you lose a lot of your big guys first. So specifically if playing Grey Knights, I think that actually harms you in this matchup. Just because if you end up playing Grey Knights, you push forward to actually go first, you're going to lose all of your thick stuff. And then it's just going to be a case of, well, can the Ravages and the Trueborn kill back enough Dread Knights? Answer's probably going to be no. It's because let's say you have 4, you've got a 4-person honorable save on the Grey Knights as well there. One of them can move after you as a target as well. It's going to be very, very difficult to remove those. So if he hits Grey Knights, I think he's in for a bit of a rough time, although he may have hit that during the event. And if he's beat that, fair.
I think he had some very challenging.
What did he?
From what I remember, he had 2 lots of Orcs because obviously in his final game, he had Orcs. He had Orcs earlier on. He started against. It was Space Marine was his first matchup. It was I want to say White Scars.
Okay, yeah. I think it is okay into White Scars.
Yeah. But a lot of the considerations in like where you've just touched on the odd choices, I think a lot of those were based on what physical models he had.
True.
That's often a thing that I think gets left behind when we're kind of looking at the top of the kind of
course
the angle.
When you're critiquing stuff, you want to be thinking about what you could do to do it optimally, right? It's not like because if we say, oh well, you do this, but if you don't have the models do this, it's going to be very, very difficult because you're always going to be in a situation where you don't necessarily have the correct models. So it's all about like what your own collection looks like. But yeah, it's okay. I like this is inclusion. I personally try and go for more like fixed stuff. But yeah, it works perfectly fine, and it was a good result to get top 4.
Yeah, he's a very competent player, and he's only been playing back in the hobby 3 years, I think. So he's doing quite well. So
yeah, and that rounds out the Leicester GT list, which had about 300 players at it. So yeah,
pretty big.
Event,
When's the next big? Is it Nottingham GT next?
I think so. It's in January.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting.
Yeah, it should be good.
That's pretty exciting.
Are you guys going to be going to that one?
It's
in walking distance.
Depends. I don't know if we're meant to be doing coverage because we might be meant to be doing coverage. And if we're not, and I do happen to be free that weekend, maybe it'll be the first run out for my Orkies, or as I like to call them,
Rob,
the Porkies.
Shall we all run Stompers?
No, they're not in my list now. They're not in my list.
So Tom, you say not to bring
right, John.
Wastes,
shall we run
like
Stompers?
Bringing Squiggles, but you want me to take a Stomper?
No, I'm saying that if you're going to cry about not having enough points for your Orcs, you can't also take a squig off in the same thing. Whereas if I'm building a list around my Stomper, that's perfectly acceptable.
Fair enough. No, if I'm going to an event, I want to at least try to take it seriously a little bit. But I know I can see.
Okay.
I also reckon that like winning best painted at these events is a piece of piss. Like
I don't know, man. So like 300 people in a room.
Yeah,
you're gonna have some good painters in there. Did you see the state of the armies at LGT, mate? Very nice.
No, I did see the state of them at LGT.
But the question...
There are a lot of good ones there, mate. I saw them.
Do you want to win best painted if you don't get an actual award for it, though?
I mean, but you did get a printout.
Hey, was there an issue with awards at Leicester?
So for 8...
Oh, well, apparently the best in faction got T-shirts. That meant that Ennis didn't have to go home topless. That was pretty cool.
T-shirts are cool.
Were they the LGT T-shirts?
Yeah. I have no clue.
Curious.
I don't think Ennis has taken any modelling pictures, but let's go and find out.
I'm curious
check his Twitter feed.
That could be related to them not necessarily selling well at the LGT. I blame the art. I blame the artwork.
I see what you're saying, John.
Okay.
I blame the artists.
Right.
But all of those T-shirts are now NFTs. That's what I do now.
That's already been stolen.
That's what the prize. That's the prizes are. The next TSN 40K event. The prize is actually a picture of you with your thumb up as an NFT as the champion. That's the prize.
Beautiful. I have also gone and tracked down the best painted certificate. And it is a certificate, yes,
signed by Zach.
But at least it wasn't wet when it was delivered. I don't know if Zach signed it. He just put kind of a date on it. But regardless, at least didn't have to respray that. So yeah, that was won by Steve Wren from
of Warhammer World fame. The events manager for Warhammer World.
I think he was posting pictures. Yeah. He's posting his pictures of army on. Was he posting his?
I reckon I can at least
get
a nomination. Really cool. I reckon I can get best painted nomination. Is what I'm going to go for.
Mate, have you seen his Has he put models out?
See, I thought that
Right.
was
Oh,
I
no,
thought
yeah.
that was a very positive thing as well.
He does good paint jobs.
Seeing Steve was at an event, because to me that looked like he's going out and seeing how other events are handling and approaching things.
Yeah, really positive for
that's
really
great,
positive for. Yeah, it's really positive for 100%, 100%. Because then he can maybe bring some of those ideas back to Warhammer World. Maybe they'll
100%.
maybe they'll percolate up and they'll go into the larger things. Maybe they'll rethink terrain. That's really excellent. Steve's an excellent person anyway. So like, it's great that he's out there playing.
100%. 100%.
All right.
And I think that's all I've got.
Sweet.
Yeah. Well,
I say that. I say it's 9:30.
Oh.
Like,
a great show
Thank
and
you
a
to
great time had by all.
Sergio Amigo Sanchez for being a new subscriber.
Way.
hell yeah.
Let's
Cheers,
go.
Sergio.
There we go.
Thanks, Sergio. Well, it's been lovely talking to you. Do you have any 40k plans before next Thursday? Either of you?
I might be playing a practice game on the weekend. I will have to see. I might be going to Claycross to play with one of the England boys. That'll be good fun.
Oh, nice.
But that's about it. Yeah. Apart from that, just seeing what I fancy painting. Rather, it's nice to not having to paint for a tournament. Although that said, I need to get my ogres ready for Sheffield Slaughter. That'll be good.
Okay. All right. Okay. Yeah. I'm very excited to slowly be finishing off my squads as I get my army more and more close to ready. I don't imagine I'll be able to get loads of games in over the kind of Christmas period. So I'm hoping just to smash through the Orcs. And then I'll be like good to go, which I'm very, very excited about, because unlike the Death Guard situation where I did them before the book, you can't get me this time. The book's out. I'm just hoping the Winter FAQ isn't too mean to me.
He already knows what's up. Yeah. Or the 3-week post FAQ or the whatever.
I reckon the Squink Hogs are going to dodge it, right? They're going to hit the buggies.
Yeah.
They're going to go under the radar.
I reckon the kill rig they're not going to touch because no one's really played it enough.
Yeah.
So I reckon I'll be able to skirt on by, basically.
It's like the Squig buggies are in second place in Mario Kart.
Yes.
And the blue turtle
Yeah.
shell is coming.
Coming from hard.
It feels like the way that the Death Copters
Yeah.
are only appearing in lists now, so they're not necessarily going to get touched for the same reason.
Yeah, I just don't want to do any Death Copters. That's
I
too
don't think
much
we
to
need
paint,
touching,
I
no.
think, personally.
They're all right.
All right, well, it's been lovely. John, you're the man in charge. Do you want to say? Do you want to kick us
I'm
out?
not going to probably play any 40k because I'm playing Warcry tomorrow. Thanks for asking me.
Oh.
I'm joking aside, I may actually play a game, but I'm going to steal the list from the weekend and dilute it because I don't have all the buggies.
Do that.
Because that's apparently the thing you do, right? You get a good list and you make it worse.
Yes, that's what I do.
That's what I always do. So yeah, so am I doing the outro bit? Cool, this is fun. So thank you everyone that's tuned in. Obviously, if you're watching back on YouTube, hit the bell, subscribe, do your thing, leave some nice comments in the bottom for the algorithm. And if you're listening to this as a Hydro Homie on the podcast, stay hydrated and also leave us some comments as well. Like, we like the reviews, even if it is just you saying something. It's something helps, right? And Rob's going to be back tomorrow at 12. Talking
Yes, sir.
about something Warhammer related, maybe doing his notes for the show that he'll do later that day. I don't know. That's what you do, right? Or have you got another TV interview?
Sounds good.
No. We're probably doing a tier show tomorrow.
Oh,
That's
cool.
the plan.
Which tier show?
What are you going to tear tomorrow, Rob? You did Seraphon
Either
last time, right?
Deepkin or Lumineth.
Cool.
Cool. Should be good. Elves.
Go. Thank you. Cool. So that's been us, and we'll see you next week. Thanks, guys.
Bye, chat.
Bye.